Okay, I'd like to call the City of Elkhorn City Plan Commission Thursday, September 1st, 6 o'clock meeting to order. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Roll call, please.
Watke,
Here.
Hunter,
Here.
Stocko,
Here.
Boardman,
Here.
Geistlin,
Here.
Meinel,
Here.
Lechner.
Here. Next, we have approval of minutes of November 3rd, 2022 meeting. Everybody had them in their packet.
Move to be approved as written and dispersed.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes passed for November 3rd, 2022. Next, we have the public hearing for and recommendation for NGB Leasing LLC owner Nathaniel G. Bowes, applicant, 103 East Rockwell Street, the rezone and public hearing and recommendation. I will open a public hearing. If there any public here for the public hearing? For public comment? I will ask a second time for public comment. And I'll ask a third time for public comment. I do declare public comment closed. Next, Nathan Bowes, if you'd like to just, what? Yeah, if you could just come up and just kind of explain what you want to do, and, I mean, we got all the notes and everything, so.
Sure. At this location, we're going to be providing a service which is already provided in our local area. It'll be to traveling physicians, doctors, nurses, and we're working with a leasing agency out of the area, and that's what we're looking to provide at this location.
Allison, do you have anything?
No, I don't. So he is just proposing a rezone from I-1 institutional district to the RD1 two-family residence district. So you'll see here on this map that the zoning that he's proposing actually fits in a little bit better with the area. Most of the surrounding area is already that RD1. So his property is that light blue property on the map shown here. It's one of the only ones zoned like that currently. So the RD1 seems to fit in well there.
So your recommendation is to approve on your minute or your notes? Okay. Plan Commission, you have any questions or? Yep, go ahead.
So we're limiting this to 2
Up to 5 people from this company.
2 apartments or 5?
No, it's one household. There's no separation. There's no apartments per se. It's a single-family home. This company leases it and sends 5 individuals to the area, which they already do to other hotels. Other landlords are doing this type of operation, but with 5 people in one spot.
What about parking?
There are 6 off-street parking.
You're saying the driveway in the back is going to fit 6?
Does. With a little bit of shrub removal and a little more asphalt. But yes, it will fit 6 off-street parking with a limit of 6 vehicles, with only 5 people allowed to be there. Well, primarily for the winter seasons.
What would be the plan if this were to change from traveling nurses and doctors to non-traveling nurses and doctors?
I guess I need an example.
You can't fill it so you bring a family or 2 in to rent.
Well, it'd have to fall into its zoning requirements, which would be a single family or 1 leasee or 2.
Stay single family.
Yes, it's standard of the RD1, 2, correct? 2 family?
Yes,
Yes.
that is
So it'd
correct.
be a 2-family.
Technically a 2 family.
It would be a two-family, but of course he would have to apply, if he wanted to create that into a duplex for some reason, he would have to come back and apply for that, building permits, things like that. As of right now, it would remain as a single family. He would have to use that as a single family residence. So he could do a long-term lease to a family or something of those sorts instead of the leasing to the non-related individuals, but it would remain just as a single family home.
Any other questions, planning commission? Members? Do I have a motion? We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other further questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Wacky,
Yes.
Hunter,
Abstain?
Stocko,
Yes.
Boardman,
Abstain.
Geisler,
Yes.
Minell,
Yes.
Lechner,
Yes. That motion passed, so it is granted.
Thank you.
Next, we have general discussion items, which we have none. Any updates? Allison or Adam, either?
I think Allison, might have some updates about the Taco Bell and Starbucks.
Sure. So the Taco Bell and the Starbucks, we're currently just waiting for them to pay for their building permits. It's currently kind of in Joe's hands. He's told them what they owe, and we're just waiting for those payments at this time so that they can get going on their projects. I don't have any updates other than that.
I did see a question, I think it was yesterday on Facebook, about the property across the street, the building going up. That's just a black building, hoping a restaurant goes in, is that correct?
Yes, they are building a shell.
By Love's a Shell.
That hole's been in the ground.
I know somebody brought up a question, they said, well, I think that's a Starbucks, and I said, no, that's not, but there's a lot of questions about that, so.
Yeah, I believe they have hopes that someday there will be a restaurant there, but for now they're just building the
Shell.
shell of the structure.
Well, That's been there, the shell, the frame of that for what, 2 years now? Laying on the ground there?
But it's actually going up now.
Right, right.
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 But the shell was laying on the ground, but now
Right,
it's,
right, it has. You
now
know,
it's
they-
above
They had
ground,
intent
so-
to do that right away.
so as soon as somebody sees above ground, they all ask.
That was a big hole.
You know social.
So
Yep.
was this the intended steakhouse area?
I don't think, you know, they had some different intentions. They were gonna call it the Wild Goose and do barbecue, I think, at one
Yep.
time. But, you know, like the Holiday Inn and Love's in that, they develop, and they're not in the business to run a restaurant, the way I understand it, Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong, but they would find somebody who wants to come in and do a restaurant, or
Which-
whatever.
Which I think, Adam, you can correct me, because you might know, the developer sold this to somebody else, correct?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Yeah. It's under somebody else now.
Okay.
We have any information on the liquor store going off at 12 on the north side?
I don't have an update on that at this time. I have
Did see
not heard
today
anything.
that there's gravel out there now, right on the lot line, I don't know, you know, but they just hauled some gravel in, and that happened in the last couple of days. I know they started, and then they stopped. I don't know what, they were doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing, I guess.
You have an update on it at all, Adam? Because I know we
That I
talked
don't know.
about it, so.
You know,
I
it's-
mean, I have, this is one of those things that we hadn't received, as far as I understand, the city hasn't had any contact or communication with them since, a year or so ago when it was approved, so.
Yeah, it might even be one of those, you know, where they put up the black stuff so it doesn't go run into the other, because they started cutting trees out there and that, and they didn't have that. And then one day I seen that was there and I'd seen some more activity, so maybe they got ahead of themselves, but,
So when we do give approval, how long is that? Forever?
That's the question I had with Adam, we brought up, because the council actually approved to hold a liquor license for them because they needed the approval from the council
to get their loan.
to get their loan. And I brought up the question, well, how long are we gonna hold that? Because if somebody else comes in and wants a liquor license, they're tied up with it. So that's the last I had the conversation. I'm not sure where that's going now, but Lacey was gonna check into the details, correct?
I'd have to check with Lacey. I think this is one of those things that there is no answer that we know of. I mean, because there was no, I know Lacey was going to reach back out to them to find out what their status was, but
So I guess my question would be, if Plan Commission would like us to go back and bring it back up in front of us, I don't know if we, is it the time to bring up a motion to bring that in front of us, John, or is it?
It's not on the agenda, I don't think we
So
could.
we can't do
could put
anything.
it on the agenda to.
So maybe we need to put that on the next agenda to see what's going on, if Plan Commission would like that.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, if we made it vague as the approvals that have not been
Met.
started, met, addressed, just so we know where we are, if,
Sure. That's what we can do, I mean, so we,
A lot of times too, we'll approve something and months go by and maybe a year and nothing ever happened. Just, all the residents ask, when they see something in the paper that there's a Taco Bell coming and don't see anything for a year, it's kind of like, where are we at? So it'd be nice if we had some information,
well,
just to relay.
I will ask that it be put on our next meeting agenda, that we, have an update or find out what's going on, and we can talk about it then and move forward if we have to with whatever we have to do to make it happen, so.
Installation of cell towers do not come before this board, do they?
That's not on the agenda either, so I'm not sure if we can talk about that yet.
Well,
but-
no, I did, because the Historical Society, we get a letter from the companies every time there's a tower going up, which has been about 15 this year. But I got one Monday that US Cellular is gonna put a 150-foot tower behind the old Associated Bank on North Wisconsin Street.
Some of that's preempted by state and federal law.
We don't have any say on it if it's okay by state and federal law. If somebody wants to rent their land to them, I guess, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess, the question I would have, and I think maybe you ask, is that, when we go through the proper steps, or they do, and we okay, example, Taco Bell, there's no timetable on that? When-
No, in a lot of instances, and I don't know if that applies necessarily in what we're talking about, but I can certainly look into it. There is requirements for substantial construction to be begun within a period of time, or they do lose the permit.
Right, that's my
Certainly-
question.
Yeah, certainly before the next meeting, I didn't realize that would come up as a question today, but we could certainly look that up and let you know whether, how much more time Taco Bell has, or whether the time has lapsed for the liquor
If there
store.
is a time on it.
Right.
That's what I'm wondering, or
Right.
would it sit there for 2 years and nothing been done?
I know through previous research, there's certain situations where if, like with a liquor license, if they're closed for so many days, they lose the license. And I think when you're dealing with conditional use permits, there are situations where when you're giving someone a conditional use permit and that they have to have substantial construction done within a certain number of months, or they risk losing that conditional use permit.
And it's up to this board, when that comes up again, to set a date,
But
like we did, if it's good for 12 months or 18 months or whatever.
I think a lot of that is in the developer's agreement. When we
That
do a
could be.
developer's agreement,
Would it,
I
Adam?
think there's a
In there?
certain time limit in there.
usually there is, yeah. But
Yeah.
the problem is, some of these projects don't really have developers agreements, so.
but don't all of our building permits on our houses, additions, stuff like that, have a date?
1 year.
So
1
why
year.
would this be different?
I can't answer that, 'cause
Nor can I.
I don't know. But it's a good thing, we can check into it, we'll bring it up on the next agenda so we can talk about specifically that property. And then we can go forward with what we want to do here.
In any of them that we approve in the future, you know what I mean? Is there a timetable? And if there is,
Well, like I said, I think with developer's agreement, there is,
Yeah, but-
if they're developing.
yeah.
Because
On that part, I 100% think they are, but just on some of these smaller ones,
I mean, I do know, for an example, I don't want to bring you up, Nathan, but when we sold the city property, there was so many days that everything had to be done and processed, and there was time frame that had to be met, and it was met, so, you know. So I think there is out there, it's just if we make sure they're in there, so. Any other updates? So do we have a meeting for December 15th, Sherry?
No.
Nope, okay. How about January 5th?
Unless we get someone to apply.
After the January 5th, we do talk about this, just came up tonight, so that is on the agenda. I'd like to make a meeting for that
Okay.
In January.
in January.
Okay.
I mean, not the December 15th, but I would like January to make sure that we can follow through with what's going on
Do you
with the,
want it to be on the 5th, or do you want another date?
no, the 5th is fine.
Okay.
If everybody's okay with the 5th?
Yep.
That week? But I would like to, I don't want to put this behind because it's been a process for a while, so let's make sure that's on the agenda. If anybody else is on the agenda, that's great, but I'd like to have a meeting for that day for sure. Okay,
Get your opinion, right?
Yeah, I'll get you something
Okay,
before that.
that's good.
yeah, that'd give you time too, so. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you,
I gotta go to
everyone, and
another
happy
meeting.
holidays, everyone.
Two.